are in listen-only mode.
So hello everyone, we want to welcome you all to this week's AutoCAD and AutoCAD LT webinar. Thank you all very much for joining us today. We'll be turning the session over to Volker shortly. Today we'll be talking about smarter drawings with field attributes and document properties. So what we'd like to do first though is just start with a few poll questions just to get an idea of the audience. So I will launch the first poll, which we're interested in finding out how many Autodesk subscription customers we have on the line. So we'll just give a moment here. All right, and it looks like the majority are saying yes, so that's good. Okay, I'll close that one. I'll put up the second poll, which is, have you attended one of these webinar sessions previously that Volker has put on? Okay, good. That one we are right around 50-50 actually. So welcome back to those of you who have enjoyed previous sessions, and we're happy to have some new folks with us today as well. So that's great to see. And just one more poll just before we get started, which we're looking for just some information on what you're hoping to get from this session in terms of your experience with them and what you're hoping to get today. So if you could take a moment and just answer this poll. All right, good. So it looks like the majority of the attendees today have used fields before, but maybe just looking to see if there's anything additional you can do. So that's great to see. So what we'll do now, we'll turn this over to Volker, and we'll let him start. And again, thank you all for being here.
All right, great. Thanks, Sean. Appreciate the intro there. And I'd also like to welcome everybody back. For those who have come back and all the new users, well, we're glad to see you here. Before we get started, just a couple of things. Feel free to leave any questions in the chat window. We're going to try and get to as many as we can. If we can't get to those questions during this particular webinar, we do have a link which Sean will be putting into the chat window, which is our feedback or landing page for our webinars. And you can post your questions here, and we will monitor these to get feedback to you and hopefully answer everything as best as we can. The link will also be in a follow-up email from the GoToMeeting webinar. Our landing page is also available for additional webinars, upcoming ones, that we will be hosting. And so we encourage you to check those out and just see what's available. We will be adding a couple of new webinars either this afternoon or tomorrow, by the end of the day tomorrow, to this. So be sure to check this out every so often to see what's new and what we're going to be covering. Also, one thing I'd like to point out is we do have a great resource available for you for additional learning and for getting information about AutoCAD, maybe support issues, maybe how-to issues, registration issues, and any knowledge that end users typically will post in the forums. The Autodesk Knowledge Network, this is a great bookmark to have for any questions you may have or information you'd like to find out about our products. So really encourage you to check this out. New information is added continuously, not just by Autodesk, but by the end users of our products. So this is a great resource. Give it a check out, and I think you'll find a lot of good stuff there. So having said that, let me go ahead and talk about this week's webinar. Here I'll be covering fields. Fields were introduced in AutoCAD 2005, and basically what a field is just an intelligent piece of text in your drawing, you can assign a field to a attribute, a regular multi-line text, dynamic text. Basically, this is data that will update as the information in the drawing updates. That is to say, most of it will update. There are some static fields, such as a date field or a create date field, but for the most part, if we had an area of a parcel in a field, that area would be displayed, and as you update the parcel, make it larger or smaller, it would then update the field information. So, as it says there, when a field is updated, the latest data is displayed. There are times where you may see something like 4 hyphens in a field. This just means that there is no data available at that time. Or you may see something like 4 pound signs. This means that that field is invalid, that it does not apply to what you are wanting to extract information from. As I said, fields can be inserted into almost any kind of text. They can also be standalone text. They can also be assigned to an attribute value. Whenever you have a piece of text available, be it the value of an attribute, be it mText, you can right mouse click over that text to either insert a field or modify a field. The field command itself, well, you can type it in at the command line like any AutoCAD command, field. You can also right mouse click within a text, or you can access it from the ribbon under the data panel, the insert tab, data panel, and then field. And of course, you'll see that in a few moments. All these fields automatically update based on settings within the options dialog. And by default, whenever you open a drawing, save a drawing, plot a drawing, use eTransmit, or regenerate the drawing in any way, those fields will update. Okay, enough PowerPoint. We'll take a look now at the AutoCAD environment. Let me get my drawing up for you. And Sean, can you verify that you're seeing my AutoCAD?
I can, yes. My car is on the screen.
Yeah. Okay. All right, great. So here's just what I'm going to do here is show, I can't show all the examples of fields, so I'm just going to try and hit the highlights. One of the highlights for me is to use fields within a title block. And for the most part, we will either have static text in a title block showing who the drafter or designer was, what the title of the project is. We may also use attributes, and attributes are used quite often in title blocks. But in this case, I'm just going to add field data. I'm also going to use what are called the drawing properties to populate this field data. Let's first of all take a look at the field command itself. So we have the insert tab and then the data panel, and there's the field command. When you select this, this is actually not the first. This is how you will see it initially, where all of our field categories are kind of lumped together. Okay, I said they are categorized. So we have options here for date and time. So both create date and date, these are static. But plot date and save date, if we plop those into a drawing, they will update when we plot the drawing or whenever we save it. We also can take a look at document properties, which we will in a moment here. So author, any comments, file name, file size, plus whatever custom properties we have. And I'll talk more about those in a moment. We can also attach hyperlinks. There is a external hyperlink tool, but this is for fields. We can also get information about objects in the drawing. A block placeholder, this is used within the block editor. We can do formulas. Notice how my panel changes here to allow me to add those formulas. Named objects, so these would be like blocks in a drawing or layers, dimension styles, and so forth. We can extract information from this. And we'll cover some of these here in a moment. Also, objects in the drawing. So if I were to select a circle using this button right here, I could select any object. If it were a circle, it would give me all the information I want about that circle, and I could place that on the screen. We have other, and under other we have diesel expressions. We can put in Lisp variables or system variables. So maybe I want to know if a particular system variable is enabled. I could put a field in the drawing that and place that anywhere, and it would tell me what the current layer is, circle radius, what that value is set to at a time, whatever system variables you want more information about whenever you're working in the drawing. We also have fields for plotting purposes, and as you can see, device name, the login name of the user who is currently working on the drawing, a page setup name, paper size, plot date, etc. All good information to know, and in many cases you could use these fields as a plot stamp as opposed to the built-in plot stamp in AutoCAD. I actually prefer using these fields. They are a little more flexible. And we have fields that are specific to sheet sets. And we're not really going to cover any of these today. Just kind of be aware that they are there. And if you were to create a custom sheet set, you could certainly use these fields to modify the custom properties. All right, so before I go into adding some information to this title block, I'd like to point out what document properties are. So, for example, right here, anytime you're in Windows Explorer, if you were to select a file and right mouse click and go into Properties, well, these are your document properties. And for the most part, we can use this information in our title block or in our drawing using fields. So here we have a summary. I've got a title here. Title of the file is fields. It has a subject, the author, that being me, and some keywords as well as comments. I could also have a hyperlink maybe going to an external document here. Some of these items like statistics I probably don't need to know much about, but I can also add custom properties to any file, and this is always done within the document itself. So in AutoCAD or in Microsoft Word or any other Windows application, there's usually a properties, a way to access the properties of that document where you can put your own information about the document, what it's for. And of course, we have other things like details, users, so forth. Anyway, those are document properties. And so if I go into AutoCAD here in my drawing, I've gone ahead and gone under the application menu, drawing utilities. We have drawing properties. Selecting that, looks we get this dialog. Looks very similar to the one I just right mouse clicked over my file. And you'll see that we have the title, subject, etc. All of these items which I just pointed out to you, as well as some statistics about the drawing. And we can even add our custom properties. And I'm going to go ahead and do that here. I'm going to go ahead and add a custom property, and we'll call it company name. And I'm just going to go ahead and call it just because I can't think of a better thing to call it other than Acme Ink. So I'll click OK, and I'll click OK, and I'm going to go ahead and save the drawing. All right, so I can place a field right now just on top of the title block, but I would want this, of course, to be part of the title block so that if I were to insert the title block into another drawing, I would have use the information from whatever the current drawing is.
Hey, Volker.
Sean?
Could you just repeat that last part? You cut out for about 10 seconds or so. So if you could just repeat just that last section there. We missed that last part.
About the adding that custom field or bring the title block into another drawing.
Yeah, that last section there where you're talking about bringing the title block in.
Yeah. So right now I'm using this title block in this particular drawing, but we reuse our title blocks all the time. They may be XREFs or inserted as a block into another drawing. As long as the document properties have been filled out for that particular drawing, then this title block, whatever drawing it's being inserted to, would also populate the values from those document properties. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. Yep.
Okay, great. All right, so what I'm going to do in this case here is I'm going to go into the block editor, okay? And the block editor, of course, will work with most AutoCAD commands. And I'm going to go over to the Insert, and I'll go ahead and select Field. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and go to the Document category. And using we'll leave it on uppercase in this case here. We'll go ahead and use author. And I'm just going to go ahead and place that as a field in here. And I used the wrong text style. So let me cancel out of that real quick. Let's go. There we go. Try that again. And so we'll just plop that in there like that. And I'm just going to repeat the command by hitting the space bar. And I'll go ahead and put in a company name. Notice how it populates up here. Click OK. Again, I'm going to repeat. And this time, actually we'll go to file size in a minute. Let's go with subject here. And we'll go title case. And regardless of how I populated this here in the properties themselves, since I'm making a title case, that was my subject, wasn't it? Yes, there we go. So it has taken the name of the subject for this particular drawing. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and skip ahead here real quick and repeat the command. And we have this file size here. So here we could also show the size of the file, bytes, kilobytes, megabytes. What I'm going to do is a little different right now. I'm going to go into the mText editor because I've just been inserting these as regular fields right now. And so I will go to Annotate, go to Text, and I'll go ahead and place a text box here. And as soon as that text box pops up, and this could be dynamic text or it could be multi-line text, I'm just going to right mouse click and insert field. And for this here, we want file size. I'm going to leave it on kilobytes, and I'll click OK. But what that's allowing me to do now is, along with the field, I can also place something like a K here to indicate kilobytes. Right, so just having a field there, I would not be able to append it with this particular value. So I've done that. I'm just going to click outside of that. Oops, I put that in the file name. Yeah. Well, we'll just have to move it, huh? All right, let's go. Move command. All right. There we go. Well, it's kind of sloppy, but it's a demo. What can I say? Let's go back to the field command. And this time I'm going to use the file name. This is something you may want to be aware of. We have options as soon as we select something like file name here. And it shows me the file name as it would be placed right now with the extension including the entire path. And so you may want to see what is this going to look like. All right, because if the path is too long, it's not going to fit in your title block. And just because this particular drawing here is called T-block example, okay, your other drawings may have longer names, and that path is going to extend that name as well. So you need to kind of think about how much of the name do you want in that title block. I may not need people to know this is a DWG. We know that. We're working with it. I may just want that file name or only the path. I'm not sure why, but I at least want the file name. I don't need the extension. I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and we'll just plop that in there. So that is one way to insert your fields. So I'm leaving a couple blank here. I realize that, but I'm going to close the block editor now, and there we have my title block. Again, if I now save this drawing, so I'll go ahead and first of all save it, then I'll use the save as command, and let's call this T-block 2. Notice how it updates the field. Any questions at this time, Sean?
Not right now. We're pretty clear for questions.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so some other nice functionality of the field command is things like our document itself. Not the document, I'm sorry. Plot information. So oftentimes we will put plot stamps on our drawings. We have some fields here that we can use to automate that for us. Device name, login, and so forth. But let's say I have a named page setup in this particular drawing here. Maybe I want it to be known what that is. So I'll go ahead and select that, and let's go ahead and plot that right there. I may want to prefix it with page setup name or something. I may want to, and I just right mouse clicked to repeat the command. I may want to have the plot scale shown. And again, depending on what I select, it will show me different formatting. I'm going to use the scale name in this case. I'll click OK. And we'll go ahead and just plop that. Now that's 1-to-1 right there. But I can go a step further and get that viewport scale. So I'm just repeating the command here. And this time I'm going to go to Object. And I will go ahead and, that may have been a little fast. I went to Object, Category, Object, and I'm going to click on this button right here to select the object, which in this case, of course, is that viewport. And notice all the options we have here. Okay, first of all, it tells me the object type, and everything about that object as if I were looking at the properties palette over here. And what I want to do is go ahead and use my standard scale in this case here. And I'll go ahead and click OK. And obviously I would want to format the text a little better, maybe even prefix it with scale factor 1-to-30, something like that. But all it is, it's making it much easier for you to get information about your plot, about the drawing, and putting that on paper. And if you wanted to, some of this information you could put on a no plot layer and just so that it's available for you, but anybody who you send a hard copy to would not see that. Okay, that is the end of this part. I'm going to show a couple of more examples here, but I want to see if there are any questions about this right now.
There are not right now, but if
Okay.
any come in, I'll definitely let you know. I know it's a lot to, for those seeing this for the first time, it can be a lot of information to try and process. So
It is, and you know, there's no way to minimize that unless you do a longer session. So we're trying to give you a glossy overview of what you can do with the tools available in AutoCAD. I'm going to switch over to my model space right now, and actually let me go over here to a different drawing first. And in this drawing here, I've just got a piece of land, a parcel here. And what I want maybe is to see the area of this lot. And again, I'm going to go ahead and use the field command. And in this case, I'll go ahead and leave it on object, which I used last time. I'll go ahead and select that. And right away, it gives me all this information. And I can even assign different units to it. So in this case, I want the area. Let's go ahead and use, what the heck, why not? We'll use engineering here with precision double. We can go additional format and change this. This is what it's going to look like right now. We can add a prefix or a suffix. So a lot of information we can add to the automatically supplied information. Much stuff here to work with, much information. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And I'll click OK. And there's my field. This highlighting for all the fields, and I'm going to right mouse click over my command line and select options. This is all dictated in the options dialog as I showed on a previous slide under user preferences. You can disable that display of the background, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's hard to tell that that is a field if you disable that. Okay. Here you can also dictate what will automatically update your fields. Okay. So they are all checked by default. If you do not want these to update whenever you save, then you may want to disable that. Afterwards, it will, you can use the update field command to update manually. For what it's worth, the highlighting does not plot. Okay, so that is just a visual thing. You've probably seen this in applications like Microsoft Word or something like that as well. So it's just a good indicator that this is a field. I've created a couple of blocks that to kind of show how I've used this in the past as well. I'm just going to go to the insert command right now. Let's see. Where's my location here? Yeah, there we go. One of them is just, I called it location 2. And basically, it's a block that I'm going to just kind of plop here and, oops, I forgot to do a rotation on it. But basically, I've gone into this block, added an attribute to it. And let's go ahead and go into the block editor. I placed the symbol itself at 0, 0, and then when I created my attribute, I went ahead and added a field to it. And that particular field shows coordinates for the location of that, oops, there you go, where is it? Let's do it this way. My fingers aren't working very well today, people. Sorry about this. Yeah, that was kind of dumb, Foker. Let's do it this way. There we go. That's what I wanted. There's my my attribute value right here. And if we go into this field, you'll see that I've used object, which was the circle itself. And because it has a center point, I'm able to get the coordinates, the x, y, and z, if I prefer, coordinates of that center point. So anytime I place that block, it'll show me the location of, say, maybe a street light, a manhole, whatever you need to keep track of where it is in a particular drawing. So a great example of how I've used fields for location purposes in the past. All right, having said that, I'm going to go over to this particular drawing. It's nothing fancy, just a simple floor plan. But here,
Can I just actually, Volker, do you mind if I jump in just before you move on to the next?
nope, no, you go right ahead, Sean.
I did have a question came in, which is I use plot date, but this doesn't update automatically. I have to update it using the update field command. Should this be the case?
The plot date, that should be a should update automatically. It's only the create date and date are the only two that are static. So are the field update settings are enabled? That's the only thing I can think of that would keep that from not updating. Okay.
So maybe what we can do, Paul, who logged that question, I did post in the chat window.
Okay.
The link to the forum post where Volker and I will be answering questions afterwards. If you want to go there and post your question there, and then what we can do is we can take that offline and maybe help you in a one-on-one type of session. There might be something more particular to your individual setup, so that's probably a little better to do that in a one-on-one session. So please post your question there, and we'll help you with that afterwards.
Yeah, and I'll go visit that immediately after our webinar. So, but that is what would be would hinder any updates would be by having disabled that. So anyway, we will take a look at that for you. So in this particular drawing, which is just a simple floor plan, I may have a detail for this particular wall section, okay? And maybe I have it in a layout or somewhere else on the drawing, and I want somebody to be able to just quickly go to the detail of that wall section. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to my field command, and I'm going to go select linked and select the hyperlink option. And if you've been in this dialog, I don't know, we can go to an external document, a web page, or even a view in this particular drawing. And so in this particular drawing, in fact, I have this A-sized view. And I'm just going to go ahead and call this wall section. I'll click OK, and I'll click OK here, and I'll place this right here. And I could have a leader here or something, but now note the hyperlink. And if I hold down on the Control key, it takes me to that layout for that wall section. So you could have call-outs that would take you to a particular view or layout. Any named view in AutoCAD can be hyperlinked to. And of course, you can get to those views by creating model viewports. I'm in a layout right now, so it's going to be grayed out. But you can create named views, and that would allow you to hyperlink to those. So one thing we get a lot of, and I'm going right back to Sean's car here, is one thing we get a lot of is, well, I'm working with visibilities states in dynamic blocks, and can I apply attributes to those? And you can, and this is obviously not a course on dynamic blocks, but we can work with dynamic blocks and attributes and fields at the same time. There are just some things that you need to be aware of, and that's the reason I want to show this example. We know that a dynamic block will allow me to have different representations of an object, right? And that's all fine and dandy, but unless we have some kind of a label stating what that is, we really don't know what kind of a vehicle this is or what kind of an object it is, period. So what we can do, and I'll go ahead and first of all reset the block, which I don't really need to do, but now I'm going to go ahead and go into the block editor. If my fingers will let me do things properly here. There we go. So I'll go into the block editor, and I'm going to go ahead and assign a field to the and create an attribute and use a field to update the value of the attribute. So going into the define attribute dialog, we'll go ahead and create this one here. We'll call it model for prompt vehicle type. And then for a value, I'm going to go ahead and right mouse click within this field here. And I'll select Insert Field. And then I'm going to the Objects category. And in Objects, we have this block placeholder. This only works within the block editor. Now, my visibility state for that car, it's kind of hidden here. Let's just take a look. The visibility state for this car is called Type View. And so what I need to do here is go into Objects, Block Placeholder, and there's this. If I'd left this as a default, it would say Visibility 1, Visibility 2, and so forth. But I gave it a name in the Properties palette, or whoever designed the block did, and it's called Type View. I'll go ahead and we'll just use title case, and I'll click OK. And I'll go ahead and maybe give it a, let's give it a middle center justification, and kind of screwed up by not changing my text style earlier. Let's hope we don't do that again. All right. Can't remember the height. We'll make it a 2 just for grins. And I'm going to preset this so I don't get prompted every time, and lock the block, and I'm going to click OK to insert this. We'll insert it under there, and I probably could have made that a little bigger. Let's go with 4. All right. So now that I've done that, let's test it. And so I'm testing it in the block block editor itself, and it tells me that it's sports car side. And if I go to sports car rear, nothing shows up here. And the reason being is that we have a different visibility state happening right here. So I'm going to close the test block. Whoops. I think I just closed everything, didn't I? Ah, there it is. All right. We're in the block editor again. And what I need to do is we have all these different visibility states, right? And this needs to be included in every one of these. So I keep clicking that when I shouldn't. So what I'm going to do is tell it that I want this value. I tell AutoCAD I want this value to show up in all my visibility states. You may want to make a note of this. The command is bv show. Okay, it's available at the command line, and then it prompts me to select the objects to make visible. So I'm going to, which is my attribute here. And then it says, just for this current state, or all visibility states? Well, I want it to be available in all visibility states. And so I've done that now. Let's go ahead and test this block. Now things are still not updating, and that's because we need to regenerate the after we change the visibility state. So I know that's kind of cumbersome, it seems like it, but keep in mind that when you're plotting something, it's going to regenerate the drawing. You open up the drawing, it's going to regenerate the drawing to check the database. There's one more thing we need to be aware of, though, and that's if I close the block editor now, and I'm not sure why it's doing that to me, but I'm going to close the block editor, save the changes. Okay, now that I've selected the block, nothing's happened here. There's no model, it doesn't tell me what kind of sedan it is or anything, even if I switch here. And that's because I need to synchronize the attributes to the drawing. And I'm going to use the @sync command and select the block, and now it appears. But again, be aware that once I switch views, you're still going to have to do a regen of your drawing. Either RE or REA does it to update that particular view. That is about it for these examples here. I mean, it's a quick, glossy overview. I would recommend you check out the AutoCAD help for more information on this, or the Autodesk Knowledge Network. And of course, we'll be happy to answer questions in the forum as well. Are there any questions right now, Sean?
There are not, but just to go along with what you were saying, this is one of those features that you know, it's great to get an overview, and you know, that was great today, Volker. But it's one of those features where if you don't go in and use it and test it and learn how to use it, it can be a bit tricky to use. So if it's something that you feel that would be helpful in your workflow, I'd recommend taking the time to go in, create some fields, and really just, you know, get used to how they work based on this session, and like Volker said, in the Autodesk help, and you know, really get a good feel for how they work.
Yeah, and there's a lot to it, just like there's a lot to, you know, everything in AutoCAD. Many different ways to do things, and there's always going to be a little bit of a learning curve. I think the hardest part is knowing what's available, though. Knowing that this functionality is there, knowing what you can do with it, and what some of the limitations are. And I hope we've been able to provide that.
Yeah, no, this was great. This was a great job today, Volker, so I'm sure we all appreciate that. So I did just want to mention a few things before we close, which is just for next week's session, what we're doing next week is it's called Exploring the AutoCAD 2015 Interface. So for any who may be on 15, or especially those who have not upgraded yet, this would be a really good one to join. We'll go over how AutoCAD 2015 looks different, and what some of the new tools and features are in there. So that's a really good one to look forward to for next week. Would love to have you join for that one.
Yeah, and to add to that, this would probably be a great session for maybe people who aren't that familiar with AutoCAD at your company. You know, if you have contingent workers or interns who are maybe working, doing, you know, small mods to your drawings, or just printing them or something like that, you know, just to help get them familiar with the AutoCAD interface.
Yeah, we do have one final question too, Volker, before we run the last poll.
Yeah.
Which is from Elizabeth, and she asked, any field that has a fraction, will the fraction stack diagonally?
Ah, you caught me off guard on that one. It would work like the it should work just like the MText editor. To be frank, I've not tried it though with a fraction. So let me. I'm trying to think of a quick example here. Let's go to my parcel here.
We're not. If you're using AutoCAD, we're not seeing it right now. So if you can switch back over.
Yep, I'd better. So you realize this is dangerous ad-libbing, right? All right. So let's see a fraction. Okay, so we'll go with let's go with a field, and let's go with an object, and we'll select this again, of course. And this time, let's go additional. Oops. Do you want to go? Yeah, I guess that'd be a good one here. Architectural. Let's use fractional to make sure we get those. And okay, good right there. We'll go ahead and click OK here. Let's go ahead and click OK. And I don't know if that can be changed or not, to be honest. I'll look into it, and I will leave a post in that in our feedback forum. Okay, it's actually the first time that's been presented to me, that particular question. So this is the face value I am getting, though.
So great question there, Elizabeth. Thank you for that. So I will put up the final poll here. Just looking for some feedback on what you thought of the session today. So if you have a moment there.
All right.
All right. Yeah, that's great. Most folks saying that it was helpful. So that's great to hear. So
so I guess as a final thought, we really do appreciate you having attended the session, and I'm glad it was useful. And this will be posted on our landing page. This recording will be posted, so that'll be available sometime tomorrow at the latest. And we hope to see you again for future sessions. Any final words, Sean?
No, just the same there. Thank you everyone for joining, and we hope to see you all next week.
Thanks again, everybody.
Have a great day, everyone.